Terrarian in the Dungeon, Chapter 26, Fan Fiction by Azazyel. Please subscribe to this YouTube channel for listening and patreon.com/Azazyel to read all of his stories. Fitting Belle for armor was an awkward affair, honestly. She was sensitive, to say the least, and thus as I went about using a tape measure to take her measurements so that way her larger breasts would actually fit in the chest plate, she squirmed a good deal, but thankfully Meteorite Armor was the only armor I would need to make Belle for a while. Being able to give her a space gun to augment her melee capabilities would make her a much more balanced fighter, even if we both didn't have powerful damage burst potential. "Can I help you make the armor, Jake?" Belle asked me earnestly, but I had to shake my head as Belle most certainly wasn't Seshet, who could all but puppet my body into making perfect items with powerful epitaphs. "Sorry, Belle, but the process doesn't really require you to even help bring me stuff as I have all the materials in my pocket space for easy access," I said, patting Belle on her soft, fluffy white hair making her make weird noises. "Okay, well I will at least bring you wet cold towels so you can cool down after working at the forge to make me such cool armor." Belle all but shouted in her determination to help me, and I couldn't help but find her earnestness adorable. "Alright, Belle, thanks for the care," I said, chuckling as I reached into the forge's coals with my meteorite-clad gauntlets. I mentally began hating the coals and the furnace itself, and thus my meteorite armor glowed to life as it turned red hot and began burning red hot at the same temperature apparently that meteors reached when they came into the atmosphere and began burning up. Thankfully, my meteorite armor's burning effect only affected things that it was directly touching, so I wasn't a walking multi-thousand degrees bonfire as it were. But its effect was definitely useful for igniting some coals really quick, so I could begin forging quickly and easily. I began making Belle's meteorite armor from top to bottom as I began making the helmet by taking thin sheets of the meteoric metal plates, and I attuned them into their Terraria form by flooding them with pure astral mana from the mana crystals I made out of all the aberrant and mutated monsters I have been killing lately, and then used the meteor plates to make the helmet around the horn of my anvil according to the shape of Belle's head. He still has a long way to go, but I can see him making the greatest of weapons and armors with the formulas downloaded into his head. I heard Seshet praising me faintly to Hestia, but I was so in the zone, as it were, as I switched over to making Belle's chest plate that Hestia's words just flew over my head. Better be careful, Goibniu doesn't hire an assassin or something. He is more straight to the point and will want to preserve his business, though Hephaestus will likely use Jake as an example to push her own blacksmiths further." Hestia warned Seshet, who only scoffed. "Yeah, the crafting familias are going to hate Jake. No ifs, ands, or buts will change anything. They will inevitably clash, but maybe if they didn't charge ridiculous, mind-boggling prices for their weapons despite the adventurer being the one responsible for bringing most of the materials for custom orders, Jake won't hurt their high-end business." Seshet spoke snidely, as in the end of the day, a blacksmith that made a weapon for a level 5 or above literally made tens of millions of valis at the bare minimum. And where did all that money go? Most of the time into the red light district, as the blacksmiths pissed away the money on whores, gambling, or just getting outrageously priced luxury products like some lotion that cost 5 million valis for a bottle to smoothen and rejuvenate the skin that Tsubaki Kalbrand, the captain of the Hephaestus Familia, was famed for buying one literally every couple weeks. "Belle, come here and try on the armor," I called out as I broke out of my stupor after I finished grinding down any imperfections on the boots and it snapped into being a Terraria item I couldn't really mess with anymore. "Yes, Jake," Belle said excitedly as she ran over with another wet towel and began wiping down the sweat that beaded on my brows and ran down my neck as I adjusted the straps on the chest plate so I could help her put on, as she didn't have the ultra-convenient accessory and armor options I had in my inventory to take off the armor in a literal flash of light. "Okay, so tell me if anything pinches or anything," I asked as I helped her into the chest plate before Belle stopped me. "Wait. I need to use the body glove Seshet warned me I would need. It's pinching my clothes and my breasts don't fit with the under the armor thick clothes," Belle explained with a blush at the end, and I nodded in understanding. "Alright, go get changed then," I said, and Belle quickly ran into a side room to apparently get changed into whatever body glove Seshet made for her overnight. "Seshet, I thought you were drunk all night and couldn't do anything?" I asked jokingly as I finally registered the two goddesses sitting on a wicker sofa, a good distance away from the forge so they could watch me work without enduring the heat coming off it. Seshet chuffed and rolled her eyes at me. "Jake, I knew you were going to make that scrumptious rabbit a set of armor, and unlike your cheating ass with the armor perfectly fitting you, I knew Belle was going to need an undersuit and such a thing." Seshet smugly smiled as her big leopard ears stood up straight with her excitement at bragging. Yeah, such a trifling bit of clothing I can make when I am drunk and sleepwalking, haha. Lady Seshet. It's kind of embarrassing. Is this supposed to cling to me like this? I heard Belle ask as she pointed her head out the door to peek towards Seshet. Come on, Belle, you are going to wear armor over it, so no one is going to see it. You aren't going to be like that Ace Wallenstein and wearing a backless dress and flashing the sides of her boobs all the time, haha. Seshet laughed out loud as Belle pinked at the realization that Seshet was speaking the truth. Then while Belle was obviously thinking about A's side boob action, Seshet snuck up and pounced, pulling Belle out into the main room, and I couldn't help but wolf whistle as I saw how Belle was clad in a white tight-fitting spandex-like clothing, and her chest area and thighs had extra layers and a bit of padding, so I couldn't see through it like the rest of her body glove, but it was a beautiful sight. Ah! Don't look! Belle cried as she blushed at my wolf whistle and covered up her bottom, as apparently that was the most important part to her. Belle, calm down. No one can see anything. Just get in the armor and no one will be able to see anything. Hestia spoke through some giggles as she calmed down Belle, and I had to point out something. Belle, relax. Look at Seshet and remember what Amazons wear. You are literally the definition of conservative in comparison. I said dryly as Seshet herself was wearing clothes similar to Amazons in what amounted to being a thick bra and a bikini bottom with a multi-layered silk skirt to cover her bottom. Yes, and I look damn good. Seshet said proudly as she cocked her hip in my direction, all but twerking her backside in my direction for a couple of seconds, making Belle cough and break into giggles. Finally, I managed to get Belle into her armor, and I had to say she actually looked rather heroic, especially with how her helmet was actually a circlet, so her long white hair was able to flow down the back of her armor. The clothes make the hero, and, in your case, you look like the right heroine, Belle, I said, looking her up and down as she stretched and tested the mobility of the armor. Belle grinned earnestly, kicking her foot back and forth as a small pink hue came her cheeks, and I heard Hestia gag or something, and I looked over to see if Hestia was choking on the sandwich the goddess was eating, but she seemed fine. Well, anyway, let's get going. I have a feeling farming the dungeon isn't going to be so easy with how Ishtar's adventures attacked me on the way down into the dungeon. I spoke as I reflexively checked my inventory for my potions. Wait, Ishtar's horrors attacked on into the dungeon? Seshet asked, frowning, and I nodded carelessly. I mean, I did insult her in front of the familiars of Aurario. To not expect a reprisal would be the stupid thing, as her personality seems built on her arrogance in being the one to light up a room or something, right? I asked, and both Seshet and Hestia nodded. I didn't spend much time with her pantheon's gods, but Ishtar is well known around Tenkai for being a troublemaker and would always try to drag people down to her level, so don't get my Belle involved in your troubles. Hestia said fiercely, and I wanted to correct her on how Belle was likely the one who was going to drag more trouble onto me anyway. Alright, Hestia, calm down, I will keep your bunny safe and sound, I said confidently as I patted Belle's soft head, and she giggled at my affectionate action, making Hestia's face scrunch up like she bit into something sour, and I realized she was feeling jealous to say the least. Hey, Seshet. You take Hestia to the divine baths today. Then we can all go on a group date or something. I said shamelessly as I continued patting Belle's head, and then I winked at Hestia, who blustered and turned purple. Then she lost all gas as she realized I was playing wingman for her, and she grinned, throwing me a thumbs up.